I'm super excited for today's episode because it's someone I've known for a couple years who's part of the MaidThis system. We got Orlando Reyla here today. He's the owner of MaidThis St. Pete, Clearwater. He's been in the MaidThis system for a couple years, and I'm excited to hop on with Orlando and learn a little bit more about his story. What's going on, Orlando? Thanks for hopping on, dude.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. So,
Yeah, yeah, man. So, Orlando, I think your story is pretty interesting, especially for people listening, because you currently still have a 9 to 5 job and you've been operating this business model on the side for some time. Is that right?
yep, that's correct. Yeah, still doing the 9 to 5
Yeah.
thing. You know, trying to eventually find an exit strategy there. But yeah, nothing wrong with what I'm currently doing. It's just yeah.
Yeah. Orlando, can you tell me loosely, like you don't have to go into your company, your boss's name, whatever, but like, can you tell me what you're currently doing, your setup, like do you go into an office or not? Just like
Yeah,
what was your career right now?
yeah. So a lot of my career right now is heavily in the back office. So I deal with a lot of numbers. A lot of strategies for a financial company. I create visuals for them. They tell me what they want. I create a visual for them. It helps them decide what they want to do and how they want to solve things.
Yeah. And Orlando, you joined me this a couple years ago. What, why? I guess, first of all, let me start with now then. Why not continue the 9 to 5 and grow, make more money, have that paycheck coming in every 2 weeks, get your benefits? Was there any thought of, oh, maybe I should just continue this forever?
No, that's exactly it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with my 9 to 5. I mean, I love what I do, but I think beginning of 2022 is where I kind of got into the made this journey. Um, I remember
Hmm.
in the family room one night, I was just assessing where I was at with things. Nothing emo or anything like that. I just had a pretty big lifestyle change at that point. I was recently married. Um, I had a 1 year old baby at the time. Um, my mom is doing retirement in her own job. So I just started thinking like,
Mm,
hey, maybe I need to start pivoting off of a 9 to 5 at some point. That would give me the time, location flexibility with work. Um, so then that's kind of how I started with Made This. I started just Googling. Um, I came across your page. You had an operating model, that fits what I was looking for. Um, Plus, I think, I had a chance to get to know you a little bit better as we're kind of talking. And I think what ultimately made me sign up was, your decision making as well was deeply rooted to family. So, here I am. I mean, that's where I was at with my life. And, sign me up.
yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm curious, what did your wife or even your mom think about you being in the finance world and like, hey, I'm going to start a cleaning company on the side now? And, what was, when you explained it to your relatives, what did they think?
Exactly that. They're like, do you even know what you're gonna get into? And I'm like, no. I just started to, I kind of knew the operating model itself would take care of itself. And as we were talking, we had the training and all of that, but it's really just trying to explain to them like kind of where I was at the point in my life. And I think they were pretty on board with that, just seeing kind of like where I was at. And I was explaining things to them, a lot of situational explanations, but yeah, they were ultimately on board with what I was
Yeah.
trying to do. And it wasn't like I was completely um, pivoting off my 9 to 5. I still had it, which I still do. So it kind of put a little bit of ease on them. And then, yeah, just took it from there.
Orlando, is your mom an immigrant? Did she move here?
Yeah, we're originally from the Philippines. Yeah, we moved there about, in the 90s. Um, you know,
Hmm.
um, she was working as a teller. Um, you know, I came here and, started fourth grade, a very shy kid, just kind of doing my thing. And yeah, just, we're just trying to make something for ourselves out here. So
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I didn't know you moved here after. So you were born in the Philippines then.
yeah, I was born in the Philippines.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've kind of found this with parents, especially immigrant parents, is Many times people come to the US in order to have stability and safety, right? Like that's what they come here, land of opportunity, let me get a stable life, stable job, that's what they want. And a lot of those fears kind of get passed down to the next generation, their kids, like me and you, Orlando. Like that's oftentimes what happens. And I think parents and family have the best intentions, but their job is to keep us safe. They want to de-risk what you're doing. Hey, should I get a motorcycle? No, it's risky. Hey, should I start a business? No, it's risky. Like they want to keep you safe, which it comes from a very loving place. But oftentimes, what I found in hindsight was it's kind of operating from either their mindset of when they first came here and what they were searching for, which is stability, and also just you being their kid, they want to keep you safe. And many times that goes against the grain of entrepreneurship, right? Because entrepreneurship, by definition, is you're an innovator. You're doing something outside of the grain. You're going against society. You're not trying to just integrate. You're trying to do something even more. So it's interesting. I've seen, especially with immigrant families, that's oftentimes what happened. It happened with me too. My parents are like, "So when are you going to go back and get a real job?" And my dad said that for like 6 years after I launched my business. He was like, "So, like, when are you going to go get a job again?" And that's just part of it, the mentality when it comes to family.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, Orlando, tell me when you were deciding on joining the franchise system or not, what made you decide to pull the trigger? Or did you know you're going to do something in entrepreneurship no matter what? What made you make the decision to say, let's go all in?
Yeah, it was just one of those moments where, here I am, after speaking with you and kind of looking at the business model and things like that, and kind of where I was at with my life. Um, I was like, hey, why not? Like you said, I've kind of played it safe a little bit there, to your point. Um, but let's see what happens. If not, I mean, I still have my 9 to 5. So worst case scenario, um, from a safety standpoint, like you mentioned, I'll be okay there. But really, what I wanted to do is I just didn't want to
Mm,
jump into it and be like, okay, since I got this as a safety net, I'm not going to go all in, right? So that's exactly the opposite of what I wanted to do. I wanted to give it both my all. So that really the first couple of years was kind of like my make or break point, so to speak, because, just figure out a way to balance that as you're kind of getting settled in with MaidThis and kind of getting the ball rolling. I'm starting to see some cleans here, the operations kind of picking up a little bit. So it required a lot more. It really challenged why I started it. But, having that, I think just having that conversation, like you said, with your family, just kind of getting them on board with what you're doing. I think those times,
mm.
really help when you're in those situations where you're kind of wondering like, hey, did I make the right decisions? Um, you know, did I just not, maybe I should have just kept this, 9 to 5 and not fully dive into this, but really just having their support just makes it a lot easier. So,
Definitely.
yeah.
Orlando, was there ever a point and ever a point in the first couple of years where you thought like, I think I'm gonna throw in the towel. Like this is too hard, or this is different from what I thought, or like anything like that. Did that come up in your mind?
Absolutely. I mean, there's point, especially as you're scaling, you're kind of as you like seeing the numbers, but at the same time, it brings a different element that you're not used to. Like I said, I came from a back end kind of
Hmm.
environment, so everything was kind of curated already. I just have to. I had my requirements all set. If I deliver, it just kind of kept the ball rolling there. But this aspect, there's just a lot of variables, right? And um, as you're experiencing those, you're thinking like, man, like should I just throw in the towel here just because, like, especially when you experience your very first bad review or something doesn't go right. You know, things just aren't going to the way it was because, as I said, things are, my requirements are always there in front of me and I know what to do. There's some things outside the element sometimes that make you question, like, should I keep going? Right. But I think, again, right, it's just going back to why you started it. Because I remember having those moments where, hey, maybe this isn't for me. But just going back to those moments, why you started it,
Hmm.
because it's not going to be easy. Um, you know, it's supposed to want to
Yeah.
make you quit. That's how you know you're getting challenged, right? You got to keep going, and you just have to find some ways to pull through. I know that sounds cliche, but It's just those moments. You just got to remember why you started it and just keep going. Especially you guys too. You guys, it's a support system. You guys are there as well. Sounding board, or if I just need an event or something like that, you guys are always there too. So it makes it a lot easier to know you have a community behind your back to with those moments. It really helps out a lot. So
Man, but that's freaking awesome. That's really cool. By the way, dude, you gave me chills. Like literally, my hair's standing up. Like, oh, that's really really cool. Uh,
yeah, I mean,
Orlando, you
it's kind
kept
of
saying
like
like going back to your why you started. Oh, yeah, sorry to cut you off. I was saying you were going back to the why you started. Is that for you during those times where you're thinking, well, I'm doing this because of family for more free time? Is that what you were going back to?
that was really it. Because so it's kind of like the opposite, right? I'm losing a lot of time to get free time later, right? I don't know, that's kind of hard to comprehend when you're at that moment, but that's really what it was. If 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 I made the you know full head on commitment to take this on, I can't just kind of go halfway, right? I
Hmm.
won't be able to sleep at night. So yeah, that's really it. Is to do this now, focus on it. Um, because I'm confident that it'll pay off in the end, and you reap the benefits of kind of like what you put into it. So yeah, time, flexibility, owning my own hours. Those really are my motivating force to just keep going on those days that like doesn't even make sense. Like why do I keep going? So
Yeah, no, it's so key to
yeah,
have that why very crystal clear in your mind. I think people oftentimes confuse simple and easy, right? Like people ask, is this business model easy? Like, no, it's not easy, but it's simple. Um, it's not complicated in terms of knowing what you're doing. We're not doing rocket science. We're not, doing some crazy complicated type of service. It's cleaning. It's very simple. But if anyone ever told me, hey, this business is easy, I'm like, that's fake. That's not a real thing. Nothing's easy when you get into this. But if you just know and it's expected, it's not supposed to be easy. It's not going to be easy. Can it be simple? Yeah, the model is simple enough to comprehend, but it's going to be hard no matter what. Then you get to choose your hard, right? Then you get to choose, well, I go to 9 to 5, that's hard, or I get to be an entrepreneur, that's hard. Pick which one. It's going to be hard no matter what. It's never going to be easy. So just pick
yeah,
whichever one you want to do and know what the end is. I think it took me a while to learn that, and I think a lot of people get into kind of like FOMO with that when it comes to business model selection, right?
mhm,
Like you see people posting on social media and say, "Dude, it's easy. I made 10K," or like I did X, Y, and Z, and they make it seem easy. But the truth is, it's never easy. It's simple, but it's not easy. And I think that's a fallacy a lot of people fall into.
exactly. I mean, sometimes people would post like, "Hey, I'm like exactly what you said. I'm making this much and this much," but that's like the end result, right? They're not showing you like how they got there. They're just kind of just showing you already their like um, the end stages there. But yeah, to your point, it's exactly that. Nothing's easy, but
Yeah,
the process can be easy, but the kind of how to get there, it's kind of like you just make it your own. So
yeah. Orlando, throughout the process, and I think this is your first big business endeavor. I'm curious, what have you learned where you're like, oh, this is cool in reflection? I didn't know this 2 years ago, but I'm really happy I know this right now. What kind of things have you learned that you feel very proud that you know now?
I think what I've learned more is it's okay to mess up. Before, like I said, I think I even kind of DM'd you direct right on my very first bad review. I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. We have the right process in place, everything is going well, yada yada. And then I'm like, but what happened there, right? So I think it's just kind of loosen up a little bit. Everything will be okay, right? That's just part of business.
Yep.
It's part of scaling. That's what I know now, what I didn't know before. So I put a lot of effort into like making processes perfect, like typing my emails like you know to the T, where like um, to now where I have a remote team member, because they're so skilled at what they do. You kind of just hand them the playbook. You teach them some stuff like how I was taught, and then just kind of let them have at it, right? Just give them also the tool to succeed. So it's just knowing that now versus when I was like maybe just a year ago. Um, Probably would have helped had I, fully kind of remember those key points and day-to-day
Yeah.
operations.
I feel like something like that is something you can only learn by going through it, right? There's no way someone could tell you,
Exactly.
hey, when you get your first review, don't freak out. Like you're going to freak out no matter what. You have to kind of experience it yourself and get that scar tissue.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Um,
we've read them, but yeah, it's not until you experience it that you go through the motions of that. So.
yeah. Alenda, I think something you've done really well about, who I was talking to some other franchisees about before, is you have a remote team member and you've done a really good job with delegation and management, in my opinion. And, it might come from what I call an artificial constraint, or in your case, a real constraint. Tell me if this is true or not. The reason you are good at this is because you can't go out and check a property. You have a daytime job. You have to be reliant on your person. And that kind of forced you to get to a place where you actually have a really good team member who's you delegate a lot to. Is that the reason, or is there another reason why I feel you're crushing it when it comes to building a business that is not reliant on you? Can you tell us, like, how have you been able to do that? Is there any tips you'd give to someone who wants to build a business which is not centered around them? What would you say to that?
Wow, that's a good question. I think as far as, remote team members or just team in general, yeah, like you mentioned, like I said in the beginning, I wanted to do things on my own. I mean, I think 6 months right after we launched, I was a one-man show as far as St. Petersburg Clearwater market. I was doing things on my own. Um, I had to figure out like, hey, um, I got to split my time efficiently. So I was doing a lot of my leads and follow-ups right before 9 o'clock and right after 5 o'clock, and really like double, triple down on the weekends. But as we started scaling, I figured out like that wasn't it. So to your point, like I couldn't go to every single apartment complexes or every single turnovers, right? I just have to be tactical about it. So I think the very first thing was just having a remote team member. Um, you kind of, from a market standpoint, you kind of want to figure out um, what you're looking for, and you're going to spend a lot of time and effort finding that and picking that very first um, team member. But you can't forget that once you kind of weed out, from hundreds, even thousands of applicants, after you kind of show them the playbook and just let them have it, just let them have it. Like it's okay if they make mistakes. We're both scaling. We're both learning. It's cool as long as we're kind of learning from it. Like one of our Kaizen, one third. Um, as long as you keep learning from it, you just keep going.
Core
And
values, man.
I yeah, I think also like you mentioned, um, it just doesn't stop there, right? Like hey, okay, you know it. Now I'm going to leave you alone. I'm going to do my job. Like, no, that's actually like quite the opposite. I think you also mentioned it to me. Like, you got to find out their motivation at that point. Like, hey, and this is just coming from your day-to-day interactions with them. You won't be able to truly extract it without spending time with them. Um, you got to find out what they're motivated, how they're motivated. Is it money, um, job title, recognition, or just being there for them, right? Um, Once you figure out that remote team member is there for the long run, you got to figure out kind of how to integrate that with the kind of with your program there. And then, I think also as you scale, like client cleaners are important to us, right? But I think remote team members as well are equally as important because, like you said, I can't be there, so they have to be the ones. They're your eyes and ears, and you can't truly be an eye and ears to someone if you don't share the same vision, right? So if you genuinely care for their well-being and you treat them just as you would a client or a cleaner, then I think you got a good recipe for success. So that's kind of like what I've been doing um, within the St. Petersburg Clearwater market. I'm always open whenever Fabrizio has a question. We do things together. Certain areas that we haven't come across, we develop a system for that. And then, but the rest, I mean, he's on his own because he's we've gone through it. He knows how to handle it. So that allows me now to focus on my, my 9 to 5 until, whenever he needs me. I'm always just a step away. So.
Yeah, awesome, man. And last question here. When it comes to the MaidThis system, the support system, I'm curious, what has been the most helpful part of it for you as you built your business over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I can't do it on my own. I mean, you guys are doing stuff in the back for us, SEOs and a lot of the back ends that helps us put the marketing and all that stuff out in front. So it's a lot of team effort. So I know we have a community out there. Um, you know, franchisees like myself, we're all in there. If you got a question, even if you just want to, shoot the breeze a little bit there, I mean, it's all there, right? You want to vent or you have a new idea, we all just throw it out there, kind of see what works. So I like that community. And then, you bring a fresh perspective to the mix where you're doing your thing and then you offer solutions for us and kind of just everything just works together. So I think if you take advantage of all those, I mean, I don't see why this can't work. So
No, love that, man. Orlando, thanks so
yeah,
much for hopping on today, dude. That was great.
yeah, no worries, no worries.